Hi everyone, so last Epoch Season 2 has been out for a little bit. I'm currently level 98 and a bit on my hardcore paladin. It has been going pretty well in the race to the world first WEAVER for now. I'm somewhere in the top 10 or so. And well, let's see what will happen. So I'm gonna try to keep this as short as possible, but a lot of people keep asking me about the WEAVER tree. And I want to share some of the tips of the stuff that I have gathered here. So obviously I've been exploring this quite thoroughly already. Been blasting like all day long now for 2 days straight. I have like 40 hours or something. And well, I have most of the WEAVER points also completed, and I've been playing around with some of these options here. So first things first, the stuff that you really want to go for that is really OP, I think, are these imprints. So you have the commonest riches here. So you can place a weapon or jewelry item, and then sometimes you just pop out a random pile of items that are similar to this. And similar in this case means when you put a unique, it can be the same unique. Or it can be like, for example, a rare or an exalted weapon, and it will pop out sometimes the same base with similar stats, or like the same stats on another base, and so on. So like this, you can actually kind of progressively improve your gear. But more importantly, if there's a certain unique that you like, you can put that there and you will get that a lot more often. In fact, for example, I got an Aurora's Time Glass here, which is a relatively rare amulet. This is a very good hardcore amulet in particular. And it's not that easy to get this. It's not super hard, but well, it can take its time. And the thing is that after I imprinted this thing, well, I have like a whole handful of them now. So I have one here, another wonderful LP, and here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only found one of these, and then I started imprinting this thing, and it's literally like a printer. So you can just kind of create copies of these items here. I also imagine, for example, in merchant skills, this could be really good. Just imprint like a certain unique that is going for a lot, and they can probably get a lot of this out of this, especially if you then start putting them into the Nemesis eggs and maybe get 1 LP on it or something like that, depending on the item. Sometimes you might get some good stuff here. So earlier, for example, I found an Orion's Eye and have been imprinting that. And well, I've been using this for other uniques, and there's just been like dropping like candy. So this is really good, and depending on the rarity of the item, you'll see this a lot. You can also imprint this down here, for example. You have the Echoing Riches, which is an armor and jewelry item. Has kind of like the same thing. When you get Echo Reward, sometimes there's a pile of these. So I've also gotten many of my uniques exactly this way. This works like a charm. Up here is the Warlord's Riches, so this can potentially make some really crazy items. So the way this works is that it will take, like, for example, an exalted item, and then it will randomly drop items that have one of the mods with the same tier of the item sealed. So far I've not really had any luck with this, but it has also been kind of tough to try to really make an item that fits here, that I then want to put here. But yeah, so far not much really went through my filter, at least. So this does seem not that great, but it can lead to some insane outcomes as well. Imagine you have like a tier 7 or tier 6 mod as a sealed affix of something that you really want, and then you can still get another exalted mod and craft on the thing, and you can potentially get some pretty big items like this as well. So this is not for uniques, but for exalted, and also pretty strong. And then we have this here, the Seal Riches, where you have also this lost cash proc. So when you open these little chests and stuff, you can also get armor or weapon items here. So you can just imprint something else. But I think the big two are here on the top right and the bottom left. So I would rush those first if you're trying to gear up for certain uniques, especially if you want like specific stats with legendary potential or something like that. They can be really good. Now let's talk about some other nodes here on the tree. So I know that some people are doing some kind of like XP farming strategy and so on, which is very nice to just level up quickly. And for example, use these tomes here that you get from Tome of Insight, and then block all of the other rewards. And this seems to be kind of helpful to get to level 100 a bit faster, and also boost your like factions, for example, a little bit, like in COF. Like personally, I've not really been doing that much. I've been trying this a little bit with blocking all the other things, just keeping the experience open basically, but it still leaves you with many other like random echo rewards, and it didn't really seem like it was helping all that much. And another thing is also that you just spend a lot more time in Echoes than you used to before Season 2, because there's the tombs and there's new objectives now, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So you don't just rush through Echoes in like 20 seconds every time, even when you're going fast. So I felt like this was not really all that useful, and I've actually been mostly leveling without this, focusing more on gearing up in other ways. So I took all these points out at some point and then just distributed them again. For example, in stuff that I really like here is Twinned Champions. Twinned Champions is just like more stuff, more enemies, more loot. I also pair this now with Fury and Fortune. Now this is something a bit risky, but this is a like insane like rune generation and glyph generation machine basically. So Enrage means they have plus 60% attack speed and 35% movement speed. So champions are really no joke, especially if they're also possessed. So they're completely on crack basically. But it does pay off, to be honest. So I would rather go down in corruption a little bit and just farm with this. Now this might overwhelm you very easily, so be careful, but it does help a lot with rune income, especially for these rare runes here. So if you're looking at like Rune of Havoc, which is actually extremely rare and you can't target it with prophecies, for example, this is really the main way for me to acquire them right now. So I just farm random echoes with this node enabled, and I get sometimes this pile of Havoc runes. You can also farm lizards and stuff like that, but yeah, this is where I get some of them, and these are really valuable for crafting and really rare. So this is kind of nice. Then we have the dungeon stuff here. So if you need any kind of dungeon items, this has turned out to be really valuable, especially if you need any kind of lightless arbor items. I felt those are the easiest monsters, and they drop by far the most of the keys, and they are dungeon items. I have like, 2 or 3 LP of the entire lightless arbor set basically, and I don't even want it, and it just keeps dropping. So it just kind of drops these items from those dungeons. You don't even have to go in there, which is kind of cool. And it doesn't seem to be really dropping for Temporal Sanctum, and there's sometimes like a Soulfire Bastion drop here and there, but it's mostly like this Arbor stuff. So for example, the Helm might be pretty popular for the crit chance, but there's other stuff as well they can get here. But either way, I like these nodes a lot because I need to farm a lot of Soulfire Bastion myself for the build, and in that case, these extra dungeon keys, they do stack up quite a lot actually. You just have like a flat 2% chance here when you kill rare enemies, and especially if it like juices up with extra twinned enemies here, and the extra champion spawn right there, and maybe some pack size, you do start to get quite a lot of these random drops here, especially when you have like a flat % chance to happen. And you see here, I have literally 100 keys for Lightest Arbor, 100 Soulfire Bastion, almost 100 here, tons of Portal Charms. So I can literally just farm dungeons now non-stop for like 3 hours if I want it, and just keep one-shotting bosses basically. So this stuff really adds up, and I think this is really useful if you care about anything from those dungeons. Another note that I also really like is up here. So we have also more champion spawns. That goes along with what I just explained, but also just more champions that generally has more loot, more XP and so on. But you also have this here, the Echoed Legends, where there's a 1% flat chance again to get a 1 LP item or more from a champion. And that's pretty nice because in most echoes you deal with like 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 champions, even if you do the tombs, for example. So here and there you just get like these extra uniques, and this can be helpful. Now there are some nodes here on the tree that I'm not so sure if I will take them, but I am considering them. For example, we have this here as well. When you open a rune prison for Exiled Mage, you have a chance for a champion to appear, so it's just more juice. There's also, for example, this stuff here, a guaranteed possessed Exiled Mage in a tomb and cemetery. So if you have good DPS, Exiled Mages are not really that dangerous. Even if they are possessed, they're not that crazy. They're just kind of tanky a little bit. But if you can melt through that, then this might be worth picking up, especially if you want to farm any kind of like experimental items, I guess. And well, there's also kind of similar thing with the Nemesis here. You can get a possessed Nemesis, but those are kind of tough compared to the Exiled Mages. So they are kind of like just harder. You also empower them to make them even harder. There's also the Void Nemesis now that you can get from the Woven Echoes, which is kind of on crack as well. So I will be a bit careful with this. I'm currently not taking this, but I also don't really have that much need for Nemesis encounters. If you just want to get more, this is very nice as well. Just get more spawn rate of Nemesis encounters, so you can stick in items into the egg and, you know, get more stuff. There's also a bunch of like other really random stuff all over the place here on this tree. So for example, here's like, you know, these incubated silk in the echoes. I don't really think that this is really too useful. So there's like a bit more of this, you know, random possessed stuff. It gives you a bit more juice, I guess. But I didn't really find that too crazy. There's more memory amber. Also, like, you know, there's like these little rewards you can spec into, basically. A pile of glyphs, pile of runes. And this might also help you out, for example, Rune of Havoc stuff. So if you feel like you want to take out a few points here from other things, like you don't really need those random legendaries or something like that, or don't really need a Nemesis, I would maybe pick up some things here, like the double reward, and then the pile of glyphs or something like that, or the pile of runes, especially for Rune of Havoc. And then it can actually, you know, start building a real bank here. Now let's talk about arenas. A lot of people block arenas, I think, including myself, but it's mostly just due to the pathing, and I didn't really care too much either way. I think arenas are actually pretty good, and you should definitely try arenas at least before you block them, and you'll see that they're actually much faster than in the past, and stuff just like flies at you. And you can sometimes complete them really quickly, faster than normal echoes, because in normal echoes, there's a lot more like long lasting objectives now and like super spread out and so on. And arenas might sometimes just be the fastest way to go through a web, actually. So you might want to keep that. You can also juice them up here a little bit. I have not tried this here on the left side with the super arena. I don't know what exactly this will do, but more champions sounds pretty good as well. And yeah, maybe this is actually like a really good combo. Also, another thing I found really valuable was down here, the Weaver's Will item. Again, you have like a 6% flat chance per rare enemy to drop a Weaver's Will item. And then you can give it a 30% chance to be lucky, which means that it rolls it twice and then it keeps a higher value. And I found this to be very strong, actually. So if you want any kind of Weaver's Will items, like, you know, these... there's tons of them, basically, and this also includes, for example, the boss drops. They also seem to roll twice, for example, in the tombs, and then you can get even higher values and all that stuff. So if you want any kind of uniques from those guys, all of that is buffed by this. So I found this very strong, and after a little while I actually had really good Weaver's Will items after this, and I actually unspec'd it again because I didn't really have much more need for it. But if you're looking for any kind of stuff there, this was really good. And now let's talk about the woven echoes themselves as well. So right now I have two imprinted, two times the same here, the loomed riches and the woven riches. Basically, it will just like generate these echoes randomly. You don't have to go and place them yourself. And just sometimes they appear depending on the rarity. There will be more or less of them. I'm currently trying out the Unclaimed Trove, which has all these lost caches. So you just like walk in there, there's like a big map and it has like 20 lost caches, and there's like, you know, tons of, you know, random exalted items, random runes and glyphs and whatever. Sometimes you have like, you know, these lizards popping out or so. So there's like, for example, also this sealed riches synergy here. So I'm trying this out right now. Seems kind of nice. Previously I was running with the shrine map as well. This is the False Temple. There's just like 20 shrines all over the place, so stuff goes kind of wild, especially if your build is kind of weak. Then you can just run around and you have like 5 shrines going that just blast everything around you. And you might also get extra speed, extra cooldown, and extra whatever. And it can just fly through this map. And most importantly, there is an XP shrine. So like this, you can actually also farm XP a little bit faster. And it's like a pretty solid layout as well. You just kind of go around in like a little square and just have a bunch of big rooms where you have a bunch of shrines. So that's not a bad one. I also tried this out and implemented it. And other than that, you could also try to go for some of the crafting or the boss echoes as well. For example, here, I will be farming some Majasa at some point. So imprinting something like this here on the woven echoes can also really help you out to get more of those attempts in, get more of those boss drops, for example, and eventually get some of those items that you need. Something else that could be really valuable, for example, especially in trade or when you do like a lot of crafting, could be the Conquered Tower. You get multiple nemesis. And there's also a map where you claim all of these surrounding echo rewards. So this could also be pretty good, because then you can just kind of seek out exactly this one echo, and then it will kind of like auto-complete everything around it basically when you do this. So like this, you get like a pile of a bunch of stuff. So you could maybe even do like a combo here where, you know, you're actually farming, you know, something specific that you want here, you block everything else. And like this, you might actually get to the point where you can do some pretty juicy runs and then get like these extra echo rewards. And depending on what exactly you want to farm, there's also some of the other like echoes here where, for example, you farm like all the harbingers and you can like maybe get certain loot from those harbinger maps and these kind of things as well. So you can like, you know, really target farm like crazy with this. Also, in case you're wondering how to get all these woven echoes, what I did is there's one map where you can 3-to-1 change your existing echoes into random new ones. So I did that once or twice, and I just kind of converted all these like leftover random echoes into new random ones, and I actually got like a bunch of extra points on that. You can always see here there's like this little icon that tells you with the plus icon that you can get extra points here. So you want to see those out so you get more points for your tree. And when in doubt, you can also go to the waypoint here, the Haven of Silk, and you can potentially even buy some of those echoes. But you should not really waste your memory input that much here. I found it much better to just try to save it up and actually make better idols. So this costs quite a lot to reroll these enchants here on these idols, and you have to do this potentially 1,000 or 2,000 times per idol as well, and you will run out of ember pretty quickly actually if you get unlucky here. So I would try to kind of keep it easy with buying those echoes, but if there's one that you don't have completed, then you should definitely get it, get the points, and then, you know, try to just get more from converting them back and forth again. In any case, that's what I got here for now, so I'll share more when I have more. For now, I gotta sleep, and then I will get up and race again. So let's see how leveling to 100 will go. And then, of course, stay tuned for the eventual WEAVER attempts. That's gonna be pretty fun. So hope you liked this. I wish you good luck with the Season 2 launch, and I'll see you guys next time.